Going into the night of the 2018 draft, the Los Angeles Clippers held the back-to-back 12th and 13th overall picks. One spot ahead of them at 11 was the Charlotte Hornets, who would end up selecting Kentucky point guard Shai Gilgeous-alexander. However, his time as a Hornet was extremely short-lived. He was traded to the Clippers for the 12th overall selection, which became Miles Bridges, along with 2 second-rounders. A decision I'm sure it's not fun to look back at for the 3 Hornets fans out there. At the time, though, the decision didn't come with much criticism at all. Bridges was a fun prospect. He was a hyper-athletic, 6'7" built wing that had just averaged 17-7-3 as a sophomore at Michigan State. Shai, on the other hand, wasn't a flashy prospect. He was a raw talent coming off a freshman season where he averaged 14-5-4, shooting 49% from the field. He had incredible size at 6'6" with a nearly 7-foot wingspan. He was a fluid athlete with a super soft touch at the rim and a natural ability for drawing contact. Without a doubt, a promising prospect, but few, if any, predicted the upside he would tap into. There were serious concerns about his ability to be a lead guard. He holds the ball too long looking for driving lanes, can get tunnel vision, makes silly turnovers trying to force offense, and while he had the size to play all over the court, he was a very low volume perimeter shooter with an odd looking slow release. His ability on the defensive end is what was drawing most of the attention going into that draft. We saw a lot of the same comparisons over and over again. Michael Carter-Williams, Drew Holiday, Ron Harper, DeJounte Murray, who, keep in mind at this time, is averaging 8 points and really doesn't shoot from the perimeter at all. It's safe to say Shai's ceiling was much higher than anticipated. Immediately, it was obvious that Los Angeles got amazing value at 11. As a rookie, he averaged 11 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists on really solid 48, 37, 80 splits. He closed the year starting all 6 of the Clippers' playoff games, where he actually went up to 14 points a game. All signs pointed to him being an incredible young piece for the Clippers going forward. However, that didn't last long. After just one season, he was traded from the team. The Clippers were able to convince Kawhi Leonard, who was fresh off taking home Finals MVP, to come to LA in free agency. They would have done anything at that time to keep him happy, and that just so happened to be trading for Oklahoma City star wing Paul George. They did what they had to do to get it done, and made an offer that OKC just couldn't refuse. Shai Gilgeous-alexander, Danilo Gallinari, 5 first-round picks, and 2 pick swaps. One of the craziest packages we've ever seen, and with time it's only gotten crazier. In just his second season and first year in OKC, Shai went up to 19-6-3. By year 3, he was already up to 24 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists a game on remarkable efficiency. 51% from the field, 42% from 3, and 81% from the line. Just 2 seasons later, after averaging 31-6, he was now widely considered one of the best players in the entire league. It had become obvious there was just no stopping him going downhill. He shot 51% from the field, while getting to the line nearly 11 times a game where he shot 91%. Then in the following season, he led OKC to the top seed in the West. And now this year, as the group around him has improved immensely, everything started to click. Shai is the face of what looks to be the league's next dynasty. The player, with a pre-draft comparison of Michael Carter-Williams, has averaged 33 points, 6 assists, and 5 rebounds, shooting 52% from the field. Production that, when combined with OKC once again securing the top seed, made him the no-doubt MVP. At the time of this recording, there's still some games to be played, but chances are a championship ring and finals MVP will be added to his already incredible resume at just 26 years old. Crazy to think that there were 10 players taken ahead of him in the draft. So who were those players, and what are they up to now? The Phoenix Suns held the first overall pick, where they selected DeAndre Ayton, a 7-foot center out of Arizona, who had widely been projected as the top pick for most of the college season. As a freshman, he dominated the Pac-12, averaging 20 points, 12 rebounds, and 2 blocks, while shooting over 61% from the field. With his elite size, 7'5" wingspan and athleticism, his combination of physical tools and offensive polish made him one of the most appealing big man prospects in years. Scouts praised his floor and ceiling combination. He was a force down low, with flashes of a future expanding his game much further. The Suns felt that they couldn't pass up on the opportunity to pair a frontcourt prospect like that with rising star Devin Booker. As a rookie, Ayton posted solid numbers, 16 points and 10 rebounds on 59% shooting, but he didn't quite deliver the dominant impact many expected. He struggled defensively and was yet to expand his offensive game. His second season would begin with a setback, a 25-game suspension for violating the NBA's anti-drug policy. Once returning, we would see a slight bump in his numbers, going up to 18 points and 12 rebounds a game. But around this time, we were also starting to see the Suns really turn things around as a franchise. They added Chris Paul in the summer, a veteran floor general whose addition to the roster lined up perfectly with the growth of all the young talent in Phoenix. In 2021, they went all the way to the NBA Finals, then followed that up with the league's best regular season record in 2022. During that time, Ayton was a key contributor, averaging 17 a game and showing noticeable improvements on the defensive end. Following the season, as a restricted free agent, he would sign a 4-year, $133 million contract with the Pacers, an offer the Suns would end up matching. Over the first 12 months of that deal, we would see a lot of change for both Ayton and the Suns as a team. In a massive move, they would end up trading for Kevin Durant and then later added in Bradley Beal. They sacrificed a ton of depth to assemble a star-heavy roster, and in order to help restore some balance, they would end up trading Ayton to the Blazers in a 3-team deal that brought back Yusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Nazir Little, and Keon Johnson. So far in Portland, Ayton's posted respectable numbers, around 16 points and 11 rebounds. We are starting to see his league-wide perception tick down quite a bit. There's questions about his motor, defensive consistency, and offensive limitations, especially given his $34 million plus a year salary. The Sacramento Kings were at 2, where they selected Duke 6'10" forward Marvin Bagley, a prospect that had been on the NBA's radar for a half a decade at this point. Going into the draft, he was coming off a remarkable freshman season. He averaged 21 points and 11 rebounds, shooting with ridiculous efficiency, 61% from the field and 40% from 3. Now, there were some real concerns about his impact on the other end of the floor, but luckily for him, those were heavily overshadowed by his skill set as a scorer. Out of the front court, he could take players off the dribble. He dominated in transition and could operate both in the post and beyond the perimeter. However, at the NBA level, we unfortunately didn't see much of that. As a rookie, he averaged 15 points and 8 rebounds. By his 4th year, little growth had been shown offensively. He'd gone down to 11 points a game, and on the other end, he was a blatant liability. Midway through the year, the Kings would decide to move on. He was traded to the Pistons in a deal that returned a package headlined by Dante DiVincenzo. During his first full season in Detroit, he averaged 12 points and 6 boards. The following season, he was traded once again, this time to the Wizards, where he closed the year averaging 13 points a game. But then to start this most recent season, his role in Washington had plummeted to less than 9 minutes a night, where he was averaging just 4 points. At the deadline, he was traded once again, going to the Grizzlies, where he played in 12 games, averaging just over 3 points. The 3rd overall pick originally belonged to the Atlanta Hawks, but after a draft night trade, it was in the hands of the Dallas Mavericks, who selected Slovenian point forward Luka Doncic. It's hard to understand how he wasn't the consensus, far and away top pick in this draft. Playing for Real Madrid, he was already one of the top players in the world as a teenager. In his final EuroLeague season, he averaged 16, 5, and 4, numbers that by NBA or even college standards don't jump out, but the European game is much different. His accomplishments give a much better idea of just how good he was coming into this draft. In the 2018 season, he won the Liga ACB title, the Liga ACB MVP. He also won the EuroLeague Rising Star, the EuroLeague MVP, a EuroLeague title, and the EuroLeague Final Four MVP. Again, he was doing all this as just a teenager. He had elite size, played at his own pace, dominated the pick and roll, and consistently displayed elite vision. He wasn't just far and away the best prospect in this draft. He's one of the best prospects in the history of the league. But somehow, some way, he's on the board at 3. And on top of that, instead of sprinting to the podium to select him, the Hawks are trading down with the Mavericks for number 5 and a future first rounder. Once getting to the league, it was immediately obvious that what unfolded on draft night was truly laughable. He took home Rookie of the Year, averaging 21, 8, and 6. By his 2nd season, he was already an All-NBA first-team member, averaging 29, 9, and 8. Since then, he hasn't slowed down in the slightest. A year ago, he posted career highs of 34 points, 9 rebounds, and 10 assists a game, on shooting splits of 49% from the field and 38% from distance. He would go on to lead Dallas all the way to the NBA Finals. You would think that that player is untouchable. He's one of the best players in the entire league that's led you to the brink of a title at only 24 years old. But somehow, someway, that player wasn't untouchable. In the middle of this past season, Dallas would trade Luka for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a first-round pick. A trade that in all likelihood, regardless of sport, will go down as one of the worst trades of all time. The 4th overall pick to the Grizzlies was Michigan State big Jaren Jackson Jr. Leading up to the draft, it was easy to be bought into Triple J. He had an elite physical profile, standing at 6'11" with a 7'4" wingspan. He also had the production. He wasn't a high volume player, averaging just 11 points a game, but he was extremely efficient. As a freshman, he shot 51% from the field, 40% from 3, and 80% from the line. Shooting splits across the board you almost never see from someone that on the other court is sending back 3 shots a game. If Jaren Jackson, the prospect, was headed to the draft today, there's just no way you'd be the third frontcourt player off the board. It wouldn't take him long to live up to the expectations at the NBA ranks. By his second season, he was already averaging 17 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 blocks, while shooting 39% from outside. By the end of his rookie contract, he was leading the NBA in blocks and was widely considered one of the best defenders in the entire league. By season 6, he was taking home Defensive Player of the Year. Now, the last few seasons have been disappointing for the Grizzlies as a team, but that's had very little to do with Jackson. This year, he averaged 22 and 6 on 48-38 splits. The 5th overall pick belonged to the Hawks, who would end up going with 6'1" Oklahoma point guard Trey Young. Someone that early on in the college season, it looked like would be going much higher than this. I've talked about it multiple times on the channel, but it never gets less crazy. The start of his college season was absurd. In non-conference play over the first 11 games, Trey Young averaged 29 points, over 10 assists, while shooting 49% from the field, 41% from 3, and 86% from the line. Production that at least initially was also not empty in the slightest. Oklahoma started the year 10-1, truly one of the best starts to a college career we have ever seen. If the season ended right there, he might have had a case for the top selection in this draft. But unfortunately for him, it didn't. His season was really a tale of 2 halves. From that point on, he still had crazy averages of 27 and 8, but that was along with over 6 turnovers a game, and his efficiency had collapsed to less than 40% from the field and 33% from 3. For obvious reasons, he was a very polar prospect at the time of this draft. Was Atlanta getting the next Steph Curry or a 150-pound Jimmer Fredette? Early on, it looked like the Trey we saw in the second half of his freshman season. He averaged solid box score numbers, 19 points and 8 assists, but was extremely inefficient, prone to turnovers, and a liability defensively. Some of those things would never change, but things overall for him improved a ton very quickly. He was already an all-star by his second season, averaging 30 points and 8 assists. By his 4th year, he had ramped up his efficiency to 46, 38, 90. His turnovers were starting to come down, and he had already made a trip to the Eastern Conference Finals. Since then, however, things have cooled down quite a bit. This past year, he went down to 24 points a game, the lowest since his rookie year. He also shot a career-low 41% from the field. He was a really tough player to value going into the 2018 draft, and that really hasn't changed at all. He's a great passer, is capable of scoring at high volume, but is very inconsistent. He just might be the furthest thing from plug and play, and he struggles mightily defensively. An interesting player to compare to Shai. At the time of the draft, Trey's skills were much more polished. This led to big numbers early, but that progress has stagnated, potentially regressed. For SGA, the traits and physical tools were there on draft night. His skill was just on a slightly different timeline. At 6, the Orlando Magic went with Texas big Mo Bamba. The freak physical profiles just kept coming in this draft. Bamba stood at 7 feet with a ridiculous 7'10" wingspan, the longest that at the time had ever been recorded at the draft combine. As a freshman, Bamba averaged 13 points, 11 rebounds, and a country-leading 3.7 blocks. Most of his stock clearly stemmed from what he could bring defensively, but his willingness to take shots from outside added a lot of upside to his offensive game. At the NBA level, it was a rough start. He was in and out of the rotation as a rookie and finished the year averaging 6 points and 5 rebounds. It didn't get any better in year 2, in fact his role actually shrunk. But then in the final year of his rookie deal, things would finally start to turn around. Vucevic was off to Chicago, clearing the way for Bamba to step into a role as a starter, averaging over 25 minutes a night. In that time, he played pretty well. He went up to 11 points, 8 rebounds, and just under 2 blocks. He also took a massive leap as a shooter, going up to 38% from distance. Following this season, he would secure a new 2-year, $21 million deal to stay in Orlando. Unfortunately, however, things started to trend back in the wrong direction. He went back to a bench role, averaging 7 points and 5 boards. Midway through the following season, he was traded to the Lakers but only appeared in 10 games to close the season. He then signed with the 76ers, where he played 13 minutes off the bench, averaging 4 points. He started this past season with the Clippers, but was traded to Utah at the deadline and waived the next day. 7 was the Chicago Bulls, who went with Duke 6'10" center Wendell Carter. Carter was coming off a freshman season, averaging 14 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 blocks. As a prospect, he brought a really well-rounded skill set to the table. He had a 7'4" wingspan, was a reliable defender, an effective playmaker, and could spread the floor. He didn't appear to carry the same upside as some of the other prospects in this range, but appeared to bring a lot of secure value. In the NBA so far, that assessment seems to be pretty spot on. As a rookie, he averaged 10, 7, and 2. He would maintain pretty much that same level of production over his first 2.5 seasons with Chicago. Midway through his 3rd season, he was sent to the Magic in the deal that brought in Nikola Vucevic. In his first full season, he averaged 15, 11, and 3. Now since then, with the emergence of some of Orlando's recent draft selections, we have seen his share of the offense and numbers come down quite a bit. This year he averaged 9 and 7 on career low efficiency of 46% from the field and 23% from 3. The Cleveland Cavaliers were on the clock at 8, where they locked in the selection of 6'1" Alabama point guard Collin Sexton. A fascinating spot to look back at, as this was the last guard to come off the board before Gilgeous-alexander. At the time of the selection, Collin Sexton was definitely one of the biggest names in the entire class. He was coming off a freshman season with really impressive box score production, 19 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists. He had a captivating game. He played at a high speed with an aggressiveness attacking the rim that led to him being dubbed the Young Bull. He averaged 17 as a rookie, 21 in his second season, and 24 on 48-37 splits by year 3. He would miss most of the following season with injury, and then ahead of the 2023 season was traded to Utah as a piece of the deal that brought Donovan Mitchell to the Cavaliers. With Utah, his success has continued. He's averaged 19 points a game, shooting 48% from the field, 40% from 3, and 86% from the line. With the 9th overall pick, we would see the New York Knicks go with 6'9" forward out of Kentucky, Kevin Knox. Knox was a really exciting prospect entering this draft. He was coming off a freshman season where he averaged 16 and 5 on 45-34 splits. He was still a very raw talent on draft night, but this was a 6'9" wing with a 7-foot wingspan that had shown a lot with the ball in his hands beyond the perimeter. A skill set that was on full display just weeks after the draft at the Las Vegas Summer League. A stretch of a couple weeks that had many praising him as the steal of the draft. Over his 4 games, he averaged 21 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists. Unfortunately though, that success didn't carry over to his rookie season. He averaged 13 points and 5 rebounds, shooting only 37% from the field. It wouldn't get any better in year 2. He went down to just 6 points, while only shooting with 36-33 splits. By his 3rd season, he was pretty much out of the rotation, and by year 4 was traded to Atlanta along with a first-round pick for Cam Reddish and Solomon Hill. Since then, he's bounced around the league as a role player. He started the following season with Detroit, then went to Portland midway through the year. He was back with the Pistons last season, and then this past year played for Golden State, appearing in 14 games for an average of just 6 minutes. At the time of the selection, the 10th overall pick belonged to the Philadelphia 76ers, who selected Villanova wing Mikal Bridges. Shortly after, however, he was sent to the Phoenix Suns for the 16th pick Zaire Smith and a future first-round selection. Bridges was the pure definition of a 3-and-D prospect. He was coming off a junior season where he played a key role in his second NCAA championship. He averaged 18 points, 5 rebounds, and over a block and steal a game. His efficiency was nothing short of remarkable. 51% from the field, 44% from 3 on 6 attempts a game, and 85% from the line. Truly one of the most criminally underrated prospects of all time. An elite perimeter defender who is 6'6" with a 7'1" wingspan. A plug-and-play skill set with elite production for national championship level teams. At the NBA level, it wasn't a crazy start. He averaged 8 points as a rookie and 9 in his second season. It was looking like scouts were right about his limited upside. But one of the best ways to develop is to be on the court, and players like Mikal, you can't keep off. It was only a matter of time before we saw his volume ramp up. He averaged 14 points over the final 2 seasons of his rookie contract, the latter of which he was runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year. In year 5, he had gone up to 17 points, but midway through the year was traded to the Brooklyn Nets as the headlining piece of the Kevin Durant trade. There, his production exploded to end the season. Across 26 games, he averaged 26, 5, and 3 on 48-38 splits. He would come back to earth the following season, but still put up an impressive 20 points a night, and following the year was traded once again, this time to the Knicks, where this past season he averaged 18, 3, and 4. And there it is, all the players that were drafted ahead of SGA.